So I'm actually really interested in how they built this much power, the IRGC. So I get that, like from the revolution, that they had a big part in the Iran-Iraq war, right? The IRGC were the heroes of the Iranian public during the Iran-Iraq war. Okay, now how much of this has to do with the IRGC's focus shifting from basically fighting foreign enemies, like in the Iran-Iraq war, to fighting domestic protesters? Like usually with domestic protests and everything, I mean, didn't they initially have the Basij militia there and everything? But then eventually the IRGC got involved, and now there's a lot of public mistrust of the IRGC domestically within Iran. Like Iranians, they have, a lot of them have problems with the IRGC. Sorry, am I getting choppy for you, or can you hear me clearly?
I can barely hear you, but it's fine. I can get what you're saying. So,
yeah. Basic thing is like their focus going from foreign to domestic, right? And not only fighting foreign enemies, but also oppressing the people of Iran.
Okay, so their main goal was to be an anti-coup measure, right? Their main influence in foreign policy before used to be the creation and training of Hezbollah in Lebanon, right? It used to be that most of their other foreign, it wasn't that they're doing foreign policy, only after the after the Saddam's fall, they managed to become this influential in foreign policy, right? Because usually most of their other initiatives outside of Iran's border had failed before Saddam's removal. But now after Saddam's removal, with all the connections they had built outside of Iran's border, they managed to become such a major force outside of Iran's border after that, right? But before that, their main success was the creation and training of Lebanon, Hezbollah in Lebanon, right? That was it. That was mainly it. So there are some other activities, assassinations and terrorist activities on other places that also you could mention. But the IRGC has five sections, fractions, I don't know what you want to call them. It's basically the IRGC's what is called Marine, like Air Force, ground force, and then the IRGC's foreign, intelligence plus militia activity, which is called Quds, right? So you have basically Quds, ground, air, navy, and the last one is the Basij.
So it's a combination. It's like a combination.
These are the five.
Yes, so it's like a combination of a military and intelligence organization, right? And also like the economic power.
Yes. Yeah, actually you're right.
That's a hell of a lot of power.
Yes.
Lot of power.
So yeah. Quds, like the Quds branch, if you think about Quds, it's kind of like their CIA, but imagine if CIA had its own military, right? So it's intelligence. Quds is like a mix of intelligence plus they have their own troops. Basij is basically armed militia inside the country, like people who don't even wear military clothing, but they go around and are supposed to suppress people who are anti-regime inside the country itself. And yeah, so, and imagine like the other branch, imagine if like the Pentagon owned like most of Amazon, Google, Facebook, Exxon, and the most major companies in the United States was majority shareholder of it was Pentagon, right? So it's like you have this kind of situation, right? So yeah, they control they control like a lot of the foreign policy, and yeah, and like for when it comes to some major issues, you can see that Khamenei doesn't even. By the way, Iran has two intelligence agencies: one under the presidency, which is part of the government, and another intelligence agency, which is under IRGC, right? So again, parallel one organization, one of them being more ideological than the other one, right? But you can see like when it comes to media consumption for the world, You can see that the foreign ministry is sent to talk to people, but when it comes to actual serious deals that represents Khamenei's views, you can see Khamenei sends other people. It used to be when things really need to get done, Soleimani was being sent, right? Qasem Soleimani was the deal maker in the region. He was like Khamenei's lion in the region, and his word when what he said, what the deals that he made with people mattered a lot more than whatever the foreign ministry said, right? He was the hero, yes, and he represented Quds basically, right? So they slowly got to take over the economy. And now, so we have, what do we have? We have armed forces controlled by IRGC, like a lot of it. Foreign policy, a lot of it is controlled by IRGC. A lot of the economy is controlled by the IRGC. And now they want to take over the main part, the part of the government that they don't have control over, which is the presidency, right? But some people in Iran say, like, you know what, nothing is changing, because what's changing is they going from having control behind this the curtain to having control publicly, right? Like, it's not like some people are saying it's effectively not going to change. Now everybody's going to see how everything has been. I don't know. I don't think so. I think like actually taking over the presidency might even increase their control. They recently had reports out showing that they were very, like, this is from the IRGC itself. They publicly published this, right? That they are very concerned about the Generation Z, and controlling Generation Z in Iran is going to be a lot more difficult than previous generation before it, right? So this whole idea of people not showing up for elections might be an excuse for, like, well, we might as well use this as an opportunity to just take over the presidency as well, right? Yeah. So the way that people should look at this, instead of reformists versus hardliners, is that you have to look at it as the shift from the mullahs to the military people, right? And it's hard for people to imagine that, because they usually considered the IRGC and the mullahs at the same part of the same hardliners, right? So the shift of power is not going from the reformers to the hardliners. The reason why the shift of power is not going from the reformers to the hardliners is because the reformers didn't have any power to begin with for there to be a shift, right? So the shift of power is happening from might be happening from the mullahs to the people, from the people that used to wear turbans to the people that wear boots, basically, right?
Hey guys, if you want to join these streams live, get your comments and questions read by Ali and Armin and the guests, and most importantly, to get full access to the full video versions of all these episodes, become a patron. Link in the description below.